All right, so this is the video you've been looking for to convince yourself to buy the new DJI Mini 5 Pro. Let's do it. All right, I want to start off by saying if you haven't seen the other video that I just posted on my channel that's titled the top 5 things that I hate about the DJI Mini 5 Pro, make sure you go check that out after you watch this video just so you can get a balanced perspective. I'll link it at the end. So the DJI Mini 4 Pro was hands down the best sub 250 gram drone on the market. And again, somehow DJI took it up another notch with the Mini 5. In this video, I'm mainly going to be comparing the Mini 5 to the Mini 4, simply because the Mini 4 is the next best sub 250 gram drone out there on the market. DJI is simply so far ahead of anyone else on the market that it's actually pretty crazy. Personally, I wouldn't even consider buying anything other than DJI. Right now in the United States, it's kind of challenging to get a hold of any DJI products with the upcoming ban, but it's very unlikely that they will retroactively ban them, and you can still find Mini 5s and 4s on places like Amazon, eBay, and other sites like that. And this drone is perfect for so many people across the spectrum, whether this is literally your very first drone or you're someone like me who's been shooting professionally for years and you're just looking for a really good travel size drone. The Mini 5 has so much to offer. There are so many reasons why I think this thing is amazing, and in this video, I'm just gonna be covering my top 5. So without further ado, let's get into number 1. Okay, so the first thing that I wanna talk about is the fact that this is the best beginner drone on the market. Like I said, I fly professionally and use this drone all the time. So even if it's not your first drone, it's still a great pick, but if it's your first drone, it is an incredible pick. One of the biggest reasons is safety and the addition of a forward-facing LiDAR camera. So the Mini 4 Pro had 360-degree obstacle avoidance, but the obstacle avoidance was just cameras. So when it was dark, when it was nighttime or dusk, there's not as much contrast in the environment around the drone, so the normal cameras can make mistakes. But with the Mini 5, they have the 360 obstacle avoidance, same as the 4, plus a forward-facing LiDAR camera. DJI is calling this Nightscape omnidirectional obstacle sensing, and it works really well. Especially when you're learning, you're bound to get close to hitting things or actually hit things. So with this, you can really trust that it's going to pick up those obstacles and avoid them. On top of that, the price point is great compared to things like the Air 3S or the Mavic series. And the image quality is amazing, so you're not gonna really outgrow it and just kind of feel like your footage looks really bad. If you do all your settings right, the image looks amazing. That gets into the next thing that I want to talk about, which is image quality, because it is so good for something this small. Both the Mini 4 and the Mini 5 shoot true vertical shooting, so the camera just rotates like this. And with the Mini 5, you actually have a full range of motion on the gimbal. Drones like the Mavic 4 can rotate vertically, but then it can't tilt down, which kind of makes it not that useful. So I'm not sure why DJI did that. But with the Mini 5, you can go all the way up and all the way down. The Mini 4 has a 1 by 1.3 inch sensor, and on the Mini 5, they upgraded to a full 1 inch sensor. This is gonna give you great images in normal lighting conditions, but where the 1 inch sensor really shines is in low light conditions. You're gonna be getting a lot more light on that sensor and a lot more detail in those darker images. The Mini 4 topped out at 4K 100 frames per second, but the Mini 5 can shoot at 4K 120 frames per second and use different color modes like D-Log-M and HLG. These are gonna give you a lot more dynamic range, allowing you to really color grade your footage exactly how you want in post. By the way, if you are interested in checking out the video filters that I use to give my footage that cinematic look, I'll link my pack of 4 LUTs down in the description down below. Okay, so the third thing that I wanna talk about is the fact that this thing now has 42 gigabytes of internal storage, which I think is amazing. I actually made a video last year of the things that I didn't like about the Mini 4, and on that list was that it only had 2 gigabytes of storage, so I'm super stoked to see that they upgraded that. 2 gigabytes is really only enough for a few shots, so if you forget your SD card, you're kind of screwed. Not that I've ever made that mistake, because I've been doing this for almost a decade and I really shouldn't be forgetting SD cards. But I can imagine if I did have that problem, I would be really upset with myself. But there are also times where I've been out flying and I actually filled my SD card up and I had to fly all the way back to myself, put a new one in, fly back to the location that I was, and it would just be so much easier if I could just switch to the internal storage and know that I'm good. And 42 gigabytes is enough. Even if you don't even have an SD card, you can just use that. It's always good to use an SD card because it's easier to offload, but this is something I'm super stoked about. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about is the size, which is so insane to me. The size just speaks for itself. You can put this pretty much anywhere. It almost takes up less space than just an individual lens. When I do motorcycle trips, I have a small tank bag in front of me and no other drone on the market could fit in there, but with the Mini, I can just put the drone, put the controller, and without even getting off the bike, I can just open it up, have the drone in the air, following me, chasing other people, or whatever. If you get the Fly More combo, it also comes with this triple battery charger, which is really nice, really compact, and actually doubles as a power bank. You can actually charge your phone and other stuff through that port. So every little piece of this kit is just really well thought through. Another drone that people argue is the best travel drone out there is the Air 3S, and while it is an amazing drone, it is quite a bit bigger than the Mini, coming in at 3 times the weight. And even though there is an additional lens on that drone, which is really nice in certain situations, the main camera itself, you're not gonna notice that big of a difference in the quality. So for me, the video quality improvements aren't enough to justify having something that's so much bigger. And with that drone, you don't have the ability to shoot in vertical. All right, so the last thing that I think is a really big improvement is the fact that you can now shoot at multiple focal lengths, even if it isn't an actual different lens and sensor. So this drone now shoots at both 24 millimeters, which is the classic wide look, and it has a 48 millimeter mode. Now, like I said, this isn't actually a different lens, it's just cropping in on the main image, but the output is still in 4K. So because you're cropping in, you're gonna lose some pixels and your photos and videos aren't gonna be quite as sharp, but especially if you're just posting these to either YouTube or social media where most people watch on their phone, most people aren't gonna be able to tell the difference. And the second focal length allows you to get so much more dynamic shots. It basically brings the background in closer to the subject and is by far my favorite thing about the bigger DJI models like the Air and the Mavic series. Here's a couple quick examples. As you can see, it just pulls the background and the foreground close together, and this is especially nice when you have a subject in the frame. All right guys, so that is it for this video. If you do want to snag one of these drones, I'll leave links down below. They're affiliate links, so I get a small kickback, which just helps me make more videos like this. I'll link to my LUT pack as well in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and again, if you haven't watched my top 5 things I hate about the Mini 5 Pro, definitely check that out now. All right, see you on the next one. Peace.